All right, so South Korea, huh? Talk about a political shit show. It's like someone spiked the kimchi with crazy pills over there.
Tell me about it.
We're diving deep into the dumpster fire that is Yoon Suk Yeol's presidency.
Oh, yeah, this guy. The 13th president of South Korea. Impeached and suspended talk about a career nosedive.
From prosecutor for president to public enemy #1, this dude's story is straight out of some fucked up political thriller. We've got his Wikipedia page and a whole stack of articles detailing this shitstorm.
You think his Wikipedia editor needs a therapist after chronicling this mess?
Probably.
Yeah.
So let's cut the crap and get right into it. Buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be a wild ride.
What's wild is how this dude went from locking up corrupt politicians to becoming one himself.
Right. Like, talk about a plot twist.
And the thing is, Yoon wasn't some slick career politician, working his way up the greasy pole. He was a goddamn prosecutor. Like a total bulldog, taking down anyone who crossed him.
Yeah, this motherfucker went after 2 former presidents, Park Geun-hye and Lee Myung-bak. No joke, he took them down hard.
You gotta have balls of steel to go after people like that. And I guess it resonated with voters, They were sick of the same old political bullshit.
So his whole tough-on-crime image is what helped him snag the presidency back in 2022.
It definitely played a part, but his victory was anything but a landslide.
How close was it?
Think less than 1 percentage point.
Yeah.
Seriously, you couldn't make this shit up.
Holy shit, that's cutting it close.
Right. And he campaigned on some pretty bold-ass promises, too. Deregulation of the economy, shaking things up. And, get this, he wanted to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family.
Wait, hold the fucking phone. Abolishing the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. Was this guy for real?
Oh, he was dead serious.
Yeah.
I mean, that move alone pissed off a whole lot of people.
No shit. Especially with all the concerns about gender-based violence and inequality in South Korea.
Yeah.
That's like a huge step backwards.
Exactly. But it also kind of solidified his image as a disruptor, right? Someone who wasn't afraid to shake things up. And oh boy, things definitely got shaken up.
So let's get into it. What the hell went wrong? Give us the juicy details, the scandals, the shit that hit the fan.
Buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting. First, you've got the Halloween crowd crush in Seoul. Just a horrific tragedy, right? Hundreds of people dead.
Yeah, that was awful.
And Yoon's response, it was widely criticized. People felt he didn't show enough empathy or take swift enough action. It was a PR nightmare.
So he was already on thin ice.
Big time.
Yeah.
Then you've got this whole medical student quota fiasco.
What was that all about?
Basically, he tried to increase the number of med students. On the surface, you might think, okay, more doctors. Sounds good, right?
Yeah, more doctors. Who could be pissed about that?
Well, the medical community went apeshit. They argued that just increasing the number of students wouldn't fix the real problems plaguing the healthcare system, like the unequal distribution of doctors between rural and urban areas.
Makes sense. So they saw it as a Band-Aid solution, not a real fix.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, there were concerns about the quality of education these new doctors would get. Like, would the system even be able to handle the influx?
So it was a total clusterfuck. Strikes, resignations, the whole 9 yards.
It was a shit show. And this is all before things really went off the rails.
So on top of this PR nightmare, he decides to cozy up to this new right political movement.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yep. That's where things took a really dark turn.
Why? What's so bad about the new right?
To understand why it was such a big deal, you gotta understand the historical context.
Okay, give me the history lesson.
The new right holds some seriously controversial views, especially when it comes to Japan's colonization of Korea. They try to downplay the atrocities committed during that period and are seen as, well, pro-Japanese,
Okay.
which, let's just say, is not exactly a popular stance in South Korea.
Yeah, I can imagine that wouldn't go over well. People are still deeply affected by what happened during the occupation.
Right. Those wounds are far from healed. So for Yoon to even be associated with this group, it was political suicide. And it's not just about, trying to rewrite history. This new right crowd, they've got some pretty fucked up views on other shit too, like gender roles, immigration, social welfare, that kind of stuff.
So basically a total rollback of any progress that's been made.
Basically, they want to go back to the good old days when women knew their place and foreigners stayed the fuck out of their country.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It is for a lot of people, especially those who've been fighting for, social justice and equality. So for Yoon to align himself with this group, even if it was just perceived, it was like a slap in the face.
Yeah, I can see why people were pissed.
Pissed is an understatement. This whole thing was a powder keg waiting to explode.
And then, boom, he drops the martial law bomb.
Oh yeah, that's when shit really hit the fan.
Yeah.
December 2024, South Korea under martial law for the first time in over 40 years.
So the first time since 1980, right?
Yeah.
That's got to bring back some serious bad memories for people who lived through that period.
Oh, absolutely. It was a dark time, man. Political repression, violence, human rights abuses, like full-on dictatorship vibes.
So what was his justification for this? What the hell was he thinking?
He tried to play the North Korea card, painting himself as the strong man, the defender of democracy against these supposed communist influences within the government.
So classic fear-mongering tactics.
Exactly. He even went so far as to accuse members of the National Assembly of being pro-North Korea sympathizers, like straight-up McCarthyism.
But South Korea is not some banana republic, right?
Yeah.
People aren't going to just blindly accept that kind of bullshit.
You're goddamn right they didn't. The public backlash was immense. People were in the streets protesting. The international community was like, what the actual fuck?
Talk about a miscalculation. He thought this would strengthen his position.
Yeah, it backfired spectacularly. It was the beginning of the end for him.
Okay, so the National Assembly was obviously not on board with this whole martial law thing.
Hell no. They shut that shit down faster than you can say kimchi, and then it was impeachment time, baby.
Even members of his own party turned on him.
Yeah, some of them saw the writing on the wall and jumped ship. It was a total political meltdown.
So what were the official charges against him? Was it just the martial law thing, or was there more to it?
Oh, there was a whole laundry list of charges. Abuse of power, violation of the Constitution, corruption, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like he was a busy little bee.
Oh, he was! But let's be real, the martial law declaration was the final straw. It was the culmination of all the controversies, his authoritarian tendencies, his complete disregard for democracy.
This whole thing is giving me some serious K-Trump vibes.
Yeah, the comparisons are there, the attacks on the media, the demonization of opponents, the whole us versus them mentality. It's all straight out of the Trump playbook.
He even had his own little hot mic incident, didn't he? I love a good hot mic moment. Spill the tea.
So picture this. Yoon is at some global summit, hanging out with Biden and other world leaders, and he's caught on a hot mic muttering something about psyche, which is basically Korean for assholes.
No way. Who was he calling an asshole?
The rumor was that he was pissed off at the U.S. Congress.
Really? Why?
Apparently, he was worried about them not passing some legislation he wanted, so he's caught on this hot mic bad-mouthing the U.S. Congress.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it was a PR disaster. It just reinforced this image of him as being thin-skinned, arrogant, prone to making reckless remarks.
Did he at least apologize and try to smooth things over?
Nope. Doubled down, claimed it was all a misunderstanding, then sued NBC, the news agency that broke the story, for defamation.
Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly. It just made him look even more like a dictator trying to silence dissent.
So his domestic policies were a shit show. His international relations game wasn't much better. His foreign policy was all over the map, wasn't it?
It was like he was playing geopolitical whack-a-mole. And not very well, I might add. Hardline stance on North Korea, cozying up to Japan, and then he decides to get involved in the whole Ukraine mess.
What was he doing with Ukraine? Did he send them weapons or something?
He considered it, which pissed off Russia big time. Remember Medvedev's threat about arming North Korea in retaliation?
Yeah, that got everyone's attention.
It was like he was trying to play in the big leagues but didn't understand the rules of the game.
So basically, this tough-on-crime prosecutor turned president was just escalating conflicts left and right, both at home and abroad.
Yeah.
Was this dude just a loose cannon or what?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's possible his background as a prosecutor influenced his approach to politics. Prosecutors are used to dealing in absolutes. Guilty or not guilty, win or lose. They're not exactly known for their diplomacy skills.
So he applied his take-no-prisoners approach to international relations, and it blew up in his face.
Pretty much. And the irony is, his attempts to project strength and dominance actually ended up exposing South Korea's vulnerabilities and undermining its standing in the world.
Okay, so back to the impeachment. Now that he's been kicked out, what happens next? What's the process from here?
The Constitutional Court of Korea gets to decide his fate. They've got 180 days to review the charges against him and decide whether to uphold the impeachment or reinstate him.
So there's still a chance this guy can make a comeback.
It's a slim chance, but technically, yes. The court's supposed to be independent, but let's be real, politics always plays a role. And right now, the political winds are blowing pretty hard against Yoon.
So let's say the court gives him the boot. What does this mean for South Korea? What are the potential ripple effects?
Well, the most immediate concern is political instability. You've got a deeply divided country, a lame duck government, and a looming constitutional crisis. Not exactly a recipe for smooth sailing.
And what about South Korea's reputation on the world stage? They've worked hard to build their image as a stable, democratic nation, a major economic player.
This whole impeachment saga has definitely tarnished that image. It raises questions about their political stability, their commitment to democracy, their reliability as an ally. It's going to take some serious damage control to repair the damage.
So not exactly a shining moment for South Korea.
Not even close. And it's a stark reminder that democracy is fragile, even in places where it seems firmly established.
It's a cautionary tale for sure. All right, welcome back, you glorious bastards. We're still knee-deep in the wreckage of Yoon Suk Yeol's presidency, and let me tell you, the shit gets deeper from here. Last we left off, South Korea's future was looking shaky as fuck.
Shaky. More like teetering on the edge of a goddamn volcano. You got this power vacuum at the top, political parties going at each other's throats, and oh yeah, Kim Jong-un just chilling across the border, probably loving every bit of this chaos.
Speaking to Kim, you got to think he's seen this whole impeachment thing as a big old opportunity, right? I mean, South Korea's looking weak, vulnerable. It's got to be tempting for a guy who loves to push buttons and see what happens.
Oh, he's definitely watching this shit unfold with a grin on his face. Kim Jong-un's a master manipulator, and he's not afraid to exploit weakness. This whole fiasco makes South Korea look like easy pickings. Could it embolden him to test the waters, maybe even launch some kind of provocation? Wouldn't be the first time he's pulled some shit like that.
Damn, that's a scary thought. But hey, maybe this clusterfuck could actually be a good thing in a weird way. Like maybe it forces South Korea to rethink their whole approach to North Korea. Maybe a new leader will come in, someone who's less about rattling sabers and more about talking things out.
It's possible, I guess, but it all depends on who takes over. If it's another hardliner from Yoon's camp, we're probably looking at more of the same tough talk, military buildup, and a frosty relationship with the North. But hey, if it's someone from the opposition, someone who gets that dialogue and de-escalation are the only way forward, then maybe, just maybe, there's a sliver of hope for a peaceful Korean peninsula.
A sliver of hope. That's almost optimistic coming from you. A peaceful Korea. Now that would be a plot twist nobody saw coming.
A guy can dream, can't he? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We haven't even talked about all the other shit Yoon was up to. Remember, this guy was jet-setting all over the globe. Cutting deals, making promises, trying to play the big shot on the world stage. Saudi Arabia, Africa, even that NATO summit in Lithuania. He was everywhere.
What the hell was he trying to achieve with all that? Was it all just for show? A big look at me, I'm a world leader tour?
Hard to say for sure. Maybe he genuinely wanted to broaden South Korea's horizons, build relationships, make new friends, that kind of stuff. Or maybe it was all just a distraction from the dumpster fire burning back home.
So did he actually accomplish anything? Or was it all just a bunch of hot air and photo ops?
It's a mixed bag, really. Some deals were signed, some promises were made, but whether any of it actually amounts to anything in the long run, who knows? And let's not forget, he managed to piss off Russia pretty badly with that whole Ukraine situation. So, yeah, not exactly a masterclass in diplomacy.
So, how will history remember Yoon Suk Yeol? What's his legacy, besides being the dude who declared martial law and got the boot?
Well, he'll definitely go down in the history books as the guy who tried to pull a fast one and got caught with his pants down. That's not exactly something you can just erase.
Talk about a legacy, huh? But beyond that, what else? Did he do anything good during his time in office?
Tough to say. He shook things up, no doubt about that. Challenged the status quo, but ultimately his presidency was a whirlwind of chaos, division, and a steady erosion of democratic values. Whether he had any positive impact on the lives of everyday South Koreans, that's a question for the historians to ponder.
So there you have it, folks. The rise and fall of Yoon Suk Yeol. A cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the fragility of democracy, and the importance of choosing your leaders wisely. It's a story that's still unfolding, and the consequences of his actions will continue to ripple for years to come. This wasn't just some Korean drama, folks. This was real-life shit, with real-life consequences, and it's a reminder that what happens in one corner of the world can affect us all. So stay informed, stay engaged, and don't be afraid to call bullshit when you see it.
That's right. And remember, folks, democracy is a precious thing, and it's up to all of us to protect it. So get out there, make your voice heard, and fight for what you believe in.
All right, motherfuckers, that's a wrap on our deep dive into this shit show that was Yoon Suk Yeol's presidency. Hope you learned something, hope you laughed a little, and most importantly, hope you're paying attention to what's happening in the world because this shit matters. Peace out.